The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio. Sackheads Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
And welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show. It is the 26th of October, 2016. Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Hello.
It's gonna all of a sudden it's gonna start like that. This is the Sean Show, as I accidentally put in the chat earlier. Thank you so much for being a part of it.
This is the what?
The Sean Show. Long story. It's not important right now.
What the hell?
It was in chat earlier. I wasn't paying attention. I just wasn't. Autocorrect got the better of me.
Wow.
Speaking of chat, if you're not in chat, go to shrmedia.com. Click on live chat. A little programming update. Don't forget, Tuesday night, election night, the 8th of November, 2016, starting with Ken's show. The Exceptional Conservative, we will start election night coverage for the entire evening, and we will go until there's nowhere else to go, if that makes sense.
That actually makes no sense whatsoever.
We'll go until we can get all the returns that we can. We'll try to be realistic about it.
Yeah, we're basically going to go from the time we get here until the time we leave, I think is what we decided. Just so that we're a little bit more definitive for our listeners.
Very well put.
Thanks.
Well, no, and what I mean is obviously we gotta stay if it's still going, right?
Oh, yeah. Look, if unless they're going to go to like a hand count in Florida, because that's happened.
Yeah,
we're not going to stay.
And the Democrats went nuts over it for years,
right?
So
we're not going to be on the air continuously for like 12 years, which I think is about how long they've been going nuts over that.
Yeah, right around 12 years. I think that's a good time.
Thanks.
So make sure you tune in for that. We're going to have all of our great partners and affiliates jumping in on it. Hey, if you're not in live chat, go to SHR Media right now. Click on live chat. And join the program. Join the show. Get in there and talk.
Join the conversation. Talk to us.
Hey,
we'll talk to Sean.
We want to ignore you.
Right, I want to ignore you. Sean will actually interact with you. I'll ignore you.
I have a funny story.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I want to hear it.
So I have a buddy of mine lives pretty far away.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
I can have friends other than you.
Yeah, I didn't know where this was going.
No, it's fine.
Because sometimes you say I have a buddy of mine and you tell us a story about us from Vegas.
I'm going to complain a little bit.
Oh.
So, it's fine. So anyhow, he invites me to be in his wedding.
Okay.
And which I'm honored, right? It's great. Hey, great time.
Right. Sounds like a great guy.
Nah. Of course, he's my friend.
This is a buddy of yours?
I love him to death.
Okay.
Of course I do. He's a good friend of mine.
Okay.
But so he says, hey, you're going to go get fitted for a tux. Great. I look forward to getting fitted for a tux. I look good, right? So
yeah.
As I'm ending the conversation, we're parting ways for the night, he throws in a caveat. Oh, by the way, the tux might be a little expensive. And I said, oh, joking around. Did your fiance help you pick it out? Because usually when tuxes get expensive, it's because the fiancés get involved, right? Guys don't care about tuxes. Yeah, it's black, white, blah, blah. We don't care, right?
Right.
Most normal
guys. But right. Some really good-looking guys care about the way they look. I'm just going to defend your friend here.
It's just weird, right? Because we have another friend of ours who's mutual who worries about what he looks like.
All the time.
And we think it's odd.
Yeah, we do.
It's a little odd.
We do.
Like being a guy, you think that's odd.
Right. For most things, yeah.
Right. And you automatically clean up in a tux, right? It's a penguin tuxedo. I mean, you just,
Right.
But no. So now I have to shell out this extra money for some tuxedo that he couldn't even lie to my face and be like, yeah, my fiance picked it out. Because I would do that to get out of, right, the duck in the...
Hey, hang on a second.
I thought it was the pretty sweet
I'm
tuxedo.
actually going to defend your friend here.
He doesn't need it.
I'm going to defend
Oh, no,
him.
I'm going to catch an earful about this later anyhow.
Oh, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. You want to know how I know, smartass? I'm going to defend your buddy here, because look, the guy at least, I mean, he could have lied to you, correct?
Could have,
and said, "Oh yeah, no, my fiance totally picked that out. I can't believe her," right? But he didn't. He manned up. He's not going to let his fiance take the hit. He manned up, right?
I don't know. I'd say, because who's going to come back and blame the bride, right? If he said, yeah, she picked it out, that would have been it. Because you're like, oh, you can't blame a buyer. It's her wedding day. You don't mess around with that.
Right.
And no normal human being
That
would
just
dare
shows
question
the balls that your friend has even more, because he's like, yeah, I own it. I picked it. I gotta side with him. Usually I'm on your side, but I gotta side. The least the guy could have done is paid for it, though, if he picked an expensive tux.
Well, that's the way I go. Or go halves with it, right?
Right, go something.
Go halves.
Right?
Who cares?
What a jerk. You know what? People from Boston are jerks.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Hang on a second. Is it that ambulance chasing hack?
No, he's not my friend.
Oh, he's my friend.
Right.
Well, he's your friend.
Let me rephrase that.
Yeah, rephrase. He is a good friend of the shows. And if we ever need representation,
he'll be right there.
Right, because otherwise we're going to blow him out on the air.
He'll be the one suing us. I came into your studio and I tripped slightly on the rug. I fell all the way to the ground and I fractured my tibia.
Your cords aren't properly covered. And I sprained my spleen. Wait, what? No, on a serious note, we want to wish Ambulance Chaser a speedy recovery. I don't know how his lawsuit's going from suing.
Well, we know it's active.
Yeah, but I hope he's feeling better. If you're listening to us, AC, Ambulance Chaser, or ACH, ACH, Ambulance Chasing Hack. If you're listening, brother, I hope you're feeling better. If you need anything,
ACH.
Yeah, if you need anything, call another lawyer.
I gotta have that sound effect now.
Ack, ack, ack.
Yes.
That's his sound effect.
That's gonna be his sound effect.
That's his...
I'm literally getting it as we speak.
Yeah, ACH, Ambulance Chasing Hack, you officially have a sound effect. No, but seriously, we love you. We wish you a speedy recovery.
The listeners didn't get to hear that one yet.
Oh, they didn't?
No.
Oh, you got to play it.
Give me just a second. I'm not that quick. Ack, 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 ack. Ambulance Chasing Hack. Good friend of the show.
He is.
We treat him so
we
well.
We treat him so well. I'm going to have to buy him the biggest bottle of booze for what we put this poor guy through.
Imagine how we treat our enemies. Oh, no, everyone hears that on the show every single week. So it's really not out of... Right?
It's really not out of sorts.
Look at all the mean things that you say about Ken.
Right, especially when the microphones are off.
Right.
For example, the time.
Right.
Right.
I made a joke before we went to air. I'm not shy about this. I want to make sure Ken's in the chat because I want him to hear this.
Wait, yeah.
I don't want to waste the joke.
No, gosh, no.
That's what it comes down to.
No, you can't waste that joke.
Right. So hold on. Let me. Okay. All right.
Is he in there?
I'm looking. I was still working on the sound effects. Slow down. Ken is in chat. So we're about to start the show, and at 8:00, I hit the button to turn the show on. It connects to the network, and it brings you this marvelous, marvelous show. And the only problem is if we have a live broadcast in process, I cannot interrupt it. I cannot override it. I have to communicate with that person. So, 8:00 rolls around. I go to start the show, and I get the message. And the message essentially says, no, you can't start the show. Well, who precedes us, as he does at 6:00 Pacific Time, 9 East Coast, Monday through Friday? The exceptional one himself, the amazing Ken McClinton, who I love dearly. But I looked at the thing, and it's 8 minutes and 30 seconds, 35 seconds. And I muttered to you, I said, I can't get on. Ken's still on. He must be operating a BPT. Do you know what BPT is? Before anyone says anything, I want everyone in the chat room to put what they think BPT is, and we'll get back to it.
Because I know what BPT is because you said it.
Right, because you started laughing. But
I did start laughing.
I go back to the joke that de Blasio made earlier this year when they were talking. I don't even remember what it was, but he says it on stage about a fellow liberal who happened to be black or something to that effect, where he's like, oh, he's just operating a BPT. And I was like, how does he get a pass on this?
Well, you know how he gets a pass on
Right,
this.
but why? I'm openly joking about it. I would say it if he was sitting right next to me because it was funny more than anything else.
Any guesses on BPT?
I'm waiting to see if any... BPT, Bravo, Papa, Tango. BPT. But it just made me laugh.
They're Googling it at this point. They have had enough time. You need to just throw it out there.
Black people time.
I want to reiterate, we do have an EEO policy here at SHR Media. Sean is in clear violation of said EEO policy. We will counsel himself.
Oh, yeah, I need all the help I can get. But you looked at me like I was sitting here holding a barbecued kitten. Like, you couldn't believe it. Even off the air, you're like, really? And I'm like, come on, that's funny.
Okay, along the...
We started the segment Funny or Racist on this show.
Yes,
but
we
it
did.
doesn't just stop on this show.
No, we
either.
live it.
Wow, I'll pray for you, Sean. Everyone's saying in the chat. All right.
We live it. Okay, well, hang on. Before you stop praying for Sean and start praying for me, I have a story from this week also.
Okay.
And
by the way, the Cubs won tonight.
Okay. So 1-1. Series is 1-1.
1-1.
So I see a buddy of mine. Haven't seen him in a long time. And there are other people around, and I was not thinking. Because it was legitimately like I did not think of it in this way at all. So I tell him I haven't seen him in a long time. And I tell him, hey, guys, right? Hey, Happy. Hey, brother, how you doing? Blah, blah. I haven't seen you in a while. Give him like a quick guy hug, shoulder bump, tap on the back. And I go, man, I haven't seen you in a coon's age.
Well, that's worse.
Well, hang on a second. So this is the look I get. Like, I get a look of horror from somebody as they're passing. And I look, I'm like, well, now I know where this phrase comes from. So when I get a look sideways, it's kind of like that lady in Target, right? When I gave my little boy like a little swat on his ass, right? Like a little one, like I'll hit you, right? Or you're next, or something. So this looks like horror, and I'm like, what's the problem? My buddy's like, hey, yeah, good, long time. And well, you can't say that. I was like, I can't say what? What are you talking about? You can't say that. That's really offensive.
Right.
I said, what's really offensive? The terminology you used. And I lost my S.
Yes.
I was so pissed. I said, hang on a second. I go, it's ignorance like that pisses me off. And now this person is just like in total horror, because now I'm a racist, bigoted, and I'm an angry, violent white guy.
Right.
And I said that phrase comes from the 1800s when people thought raccoons lived a long time.
Right.
They did not know what the life expectancy for a raccoon was. They thought raccoons literally lived a long time. So when they said, I haven't seen something or I haven't done something in a coon's age, they were literally referring to the perceived age and longevity of a raccoon, the animal. And then I turned it around. I said, and how racist are you
that you
automatically think that term refers not to the animal, but to a person?
Well, and
then they were backpedaling and stuttering and sputtering. Well, you probably still shouldn't say that because people think it means. I said, people's ignorance is not my problem.
Right.
And then I proceeded to educate them on Take Back the Hate.
What?
So,
but no,
this segment is twofold.
No, that's not Take Back the Hate because it was never hateful.
No, it wasn't, but it's just like gay was never hateful. Right. It meant happy, right? A coon's age was not ever hateful. It was referring to a perceived age of an animal. How many comments am I getting right now in the
Surprisingly, none. I got more saying I'm a jerk than you did.
Well, that's because mine actually was never meant to be racist, whereas yours, in fact, was, because you are the blatant bigot.
Well, and it's funny, too, because...
Was I wrong to get pissed?
Yes.
I was?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
You weren't wrong at all. But it's amazing to me, too, because there's a lot of things, too, that are area-specific that may or may not have racial overtones that you never even knew. Like growing up, and anyone who grew up in the Northeast, what you guys call sprinkles, we call jimmies. Right? Not the multicolored ones, whatever. Those are sprinkles to us. The all black or brown,
the chocolate ones.
Right. We always called those jimmies. I had no idea.
We call something else jimmies out here.
In certain parts of the South, the term Jimmy is considered to be a racist term.
Really?
I had no idea. Until one time I was down in Georgia, and I was about 15 years old in an ice cream shop. And I walked up, and I ordered an ice cream with Jimmy's. And oh, the look I got.
Really?
And the tongue lashing I got.
From who? From the ice cream
The
clerk?
older woman behind the counter, yes. Telling me how it's offensive and racist. I had no idea. I just grew up calling them Jimmy's.
Did you tell her you had no idea?
Yes.
Did she believe you?
I doubt it. And part of me at the time wanted to be like, hey, I'm from the North. If anything, you guys should be worried about some of the phrases you have down here. But,
Right.
And this is a long time ago. I mean, we're talking 25 years ago, 23 years
I don't
ago,
understand.
24.
I don't know what it refers to.
I don't either. It was explained to me that it was a term that was sometimes used to describe people of color in general.
I have never heard that.
Never heard that either, but apparently it's there. Or this one woman perceived it as, and I was taken back. I shut down. I shut up. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I had no idea. I just wanted a fucking ice cream. Is what it came down to. I didn't need a civic session whatsoever. But yeah, no.
So,
but again,
I actually just researched this.
Oh boy!
I typed in the search term Jimmy's, and immediately what popped up is edible baking decorations. Sprinkles or sugar strands are very small pieces of confectionery used as a decoration to add texture to desserts such as cupcakes, cookies, donuts, ice cream, frozen yogurt, pudding. But then about 3 or 4 articles down, there's a question. It says the age-old question of whether Jimmys are racist. And it's a few down. It says it turns out that Jimmys are a regional, northeastern term for candies.
Yep.
But this article is from the Vice channel's Munchies.
So it has to be.
So it has to be
really
good, and
well,
it's called the age-old question of whether Jimmys are racist.
It has to be really.
This is great. It says sprinkles, kaleidoscopic sticks of merriment, or unseemingly saccharine embodiments of Lucifer himself. Right. Given the horrific shootings that took place at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston last week, so this was written a while ago, and the calls to take down Confederate flags nationwide, we thought we'd try and settle once and for all what the hell the deal is with the summer ice cream truck staple. So what the hell are Jimmys? Well, as someone not of African-American descent who sincerely loathes the general concept of sprinkles and never grew up with the term Jimmys, I'm pretty much the perfect man to ask. It turns out Jimmys are a regional New England term for that treat, but it goes on and says there's disagreement whether the term is racist because they are brown, referring strictly to the chocolate variety instead of all sprinkle varieties. Some experts claim that the name Jimmy's derives from the Jim Crow laws that were passed after the Civil War. So there you go. This is from an article. Again, it was on Munchies, the Vice channel Munchies, written by Alex Swerdloff.
So it's out there enough where some people know about it, and apparently I caught somebody who was very offended by it. And you know what? And I didn't think about it at the time. This woman who was working at the counter was certainly old enough to have lived through the civil rights riots. So,
I thought you were going to say Civil War.
No. She was not. So it could very well have been more offensive to her based on the Jim Crow thing that you threw in.
So this sounds like it's a term that very few people, but only people that really understand ice cream, would find racist because Jimmy's refers only to the chocolate one, but it sounds like only New Englanders are racist because the term Jimmy's is used for the chocolate ones there. If I went down south and I ordered Jimmy's, they'd be fine because I don't sound like I'm from New England, is essentially what I took from that article.
All my Northeast friends in chat room, I know I had a couple, back it up. Back me up on this. Help
No,
me
I'm
out.
not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that's why she thought you were a racist because she knew you were from New England and had the confectionery background to know.
Okay.
I have a surprise Sean segment before we go to our break.
Let's go for it, surprise Sean.
We actually need to get into this. So my first surprise Sean, I have two segments: WTF and AYFKMRN. That's our ambulance chasing hack calling in. So I have WTF and I have AYFKMRN, which is, are you effing kidding me right now? So two segments for you. My first segment for you. Did you know that canoes reek of genocide and white privilege?
Wait, what? I don't even know what to say to that.
That's why it surprised
But
Sean.
yes, I actually can see their point now.
Did you know that? So this is according to a Professor Misao Dean, who's a professor of English at the University of Victoria.
English.
According to this professor, the canoe is a symbol of colonialism, imperialism, and genocide because of history. Yes, Sean.
Ooh, pick
yes.
me. Ooh, my
yes, I
hands
pick.
up.
Yes, Sean. Go ahead.
I don't know the history of waterway vessels.
Uh-huh.
I honestly believed that canoes were also used by Native Americans in America prior to the arrival of the white man, and all over the world by a vast variety of people.
But now they're primarily used by white men that have a privileged place in society.
What? All of us that have stock in
I can't
Coleman?
make this up.
Oh, my God.
This was in a radio interview for CBC Radio that this,
The Canadian Broadcasting Channel.
quote, we have a whole set of narratives that make the canoe into kind of morally untouchable symbol. Something that seems natural, that seems ordinary, and seems to promote values that we ascribe to. But I think if you look a little further, that narrative obscures or erases another narrative. And that narrative is about, to be blunt, it's about theft and genocide.
Okay, go on.
Oh, no, I have nothing else on that.
No. I mean,
I'm waiting for your reaction
okay.
because I have one more story for you.
I'm going to try to relax just for a moment because we're short on time. But
love this
I think
segment.
it is very, very nice that certain channels in Canada
Sean, just let
bring
loose.
in the
This is
mentally
boring radio. Oh,
and give them an opportunity to speak on the radio. You know, not everyone gets a chance to speak on the radio, and it's only nice that these progressives include everybody to, help everyone else go out of their fucking mind.
no, Sean, this was a professor.
Yes, a professor who is mentally ill. There are many people who have been extremely intelligent that have gone mentally ill on the outside.
Wait, how do you go mentally ill on the outside?
Once they get out of the classroom or outside of the fact that they may be brilliant.
Got it.
They're just insane. And Agatha was beat me to the question I was going to ask. How does she feel about kayaks?
Ooh, like the website?
This is just stupid. Somebody gave her airtime.
Hang on, I got better. This is from our own home state of California.
Oh, well, I believe it already.
Berkeley protesters. Have you heard what they're doing? So the far left students from the University of California at Berkeley, they're protesting. They want spaces of color.
Oh, God.
So to do this, these protesters are harassing white students who are trying to study, and there's also a bridge.
Wait.
Yeah?
So in order to exercise their rights, they're impeding on other people's rights.
No, you don't have a right to study.
No.
But you have a right to
the
protest.
right to not be bothered, and you have a right
That's
to
not in
your
the Constitution.
individual
Sean,
peace.
don't confuse logic with
Your
facts.
rights only go as far until they infringe upon somebody else's.
So hang on. So these students, they blocked Berkeley's Sather Gate.
Thank God.
Which is a bridge that connects to. It's a main thoroughfare. It connects parts of the campus, and they blocked the bridge. They told white students to go around. They yelled at them to go around, and students of color they let pass freely.
Oh, no.
So they blocked a public thoroughfare.
Oh, my God.
And then they told white students to go across. They then went and blocked traffic at an intersection in front of campus.
This is so stupid.
Now, this is an anti-racism protest.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Because by trying to forge against racism, the best thing you can do is be racist against white people.
Well, yeah. Well, they moved to the front of the store, in front of the student store, because they felt that their safe spaces were being interfered with.
I want to know.
So now they want spaces of color. And
I'm sure you don't know the number. Go ahead.
How many arrests were made for hate crimes?
0.
How many arrests for civil rights violations
0.
for these white students?
0. It's Berkeley. My biggest question is, how many of those social justice warriors that put that operation into plan, those thinking geniuses,
were white?
Were white.
Yeah, I don't know.
I bet you.
Well, even 85%. If they put it together, they couldn't pass the bridge. No, the students that did this, according to the article, were students. Of course, the article is going to say that. It's probably trying to push the narrative. No,
the article is probably from a Berkeley newspaper.
No.
I almost.
It was by Lucas Michelonius. Heat Street is who did the article. October 24th, 2016.
Here's the problem.
Heat Street,
folks.
And I probably mispronounced the author's last name. It's Mikelionis.
And I know some people have an issue with this, but I've said this time
Mike
again.
Lioness?
When you're trying to hold the actions of others accountable through the actions of people who aren't doing it, it tends to get a bad reaction. Prime example. It would be like me, instead of going into, I don't know, a gang-ridden area, pick one, and arresting all the non-gang members or having them arrested for gang activity. Wait, they're not the ones doing it. Why are you holding them accountable? Why don't you hold the individuals accountable? Oh, no. Everybody in this area must be held accountable, except for the gang members. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is so absolutely friggin' ludicrous. It is Berkeley. This sums up Berkeley, Davis, California, and a couple of other beautiful bastions of liberal thoughts and thinkings where social justice warriors rule the fucking day. This is the reason why our country is going to collapse sometimes. It's going to happen if we allow this to continue. This is horrible. And the fact that law enforcement was not active during this and did not pursue it appropriately, which I am sure was a top-down decision. You can mark my words, it was a top-down decision. It's one of those times like San Jose. I didn't necessarily question the officers, I questioned the leadership.
Yeah.
And this is one of those times. And it's absolutely horrific. It is setting a precedence.
How does the campus police allow this activity to happen?
But even the city of Berkeley police, because it wasn't just on campus.
Right, no, because they ended up blocking the intersection. But I mean, just the blocking of the bridge and telling whites.
That's Contra Costa County. We're the sheriff's department. We're somebody who says, hey, you know what? You can protest. Go over there and protest all you want. I don't care if you protest.
Who's protecting the white students who are being forced to go around, who are being
you
their studies
hold signs,
being
have
interrupted?
an organized protest, get the permits if needed, because not everywhere you don't always need a permit. That's fine. And not impede other people's lives. That is fine. Get 50,000 people together. Have a protest. Have a friggin' music concert. Do whatever you want. That's fine.
Yep.
But don't start holding people accountable and when you have no proof they've done anything wrong.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem with
how many people today apologize for the sins, even leftists, right? They apologize for the sins that were committed a generation or two ago. Things that we had nothing to do with. Mm-hmm. But they like that chief of police.
Oh, and
where was that chief of police from?
Westwood, was it Westwood, Massachusetts? Rentham, Massachusetts?
He's
Wellesley. Wellesley has Wellesley College, which is an all-woman progressive feminist college that pays the majority of the bills, and all the other rich Massachusetts elites are there. But
this chief of police, who's on the board, our former president for like the IACP, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, right? He makes a public apology. He says, "I'm sorry," and apologizes for racial injustices and everything else. Hang on a second. there may have been law enforcement issues 50 years ago in the 60s.
Was.
Okay?
You could even argue 5 years ago. But, well, listen to me. But the issues that sometimes present themselves, less now than ever, but they get resolved.
I'm talking about as a whole, right? Law enforcement as a whole 50 years ago was a lot different than what is, and treated races differently than they did today.
I will agree with.
And 5 years ago doesn't even compare. I mean, 5 years ago, you don't have cops doing what they did 50 years ago. But this chief of police apologizes. And the people who take that narrative and believe that narrative that all cops are racist and blah, 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 and they oppress people of color and everything else, they don't put time and context into that statement and that apology. All they hear is a contemporary chief of police apologize for racial injustice, and it immediately validates everything they've been saying.
Everything we say now validates, right?
Right?
Because all you do is clip the reality out of it.
Right. It's exactly like Obama's apology tour. Right? As soon as he said that, as soon as he said, "I'm sorry," he basically brought all of those problems and issues from 50 years ago, made them all relevant today, and hung what happened 50 years ago around the neck of every cop today, in the minds of those that believe that narrative. Those Black Lives Matters folks and stuff like that.
It's ridiculous.
And I think that is absolutely the worst thing that could have happened. That is the worst thing that somebody could have said in that position, without giving it the proper background and history and really clarifying that. You know, should have said, "Hey, you know what? Those folks back at that time should have apologized. They had issues. We've come a long way today. That's not how law enforcement engages today." That's what he should have said.
But every industry would have to apologize, and that's my problem.
No. I'm talking today.
I understand.
50 years ago, 60 years ago. But this guy this year or this guy now should not have apologized.
But that's like saying the medical community should come out because they used to do lobotomies on everybody and apologize.
I'm not saying they should have, but I'm saying if he felt the need to address it at all, he should say, "You know what? Those people owe you an apology."
Wait. What do you mean those people?
Those white, dirty cops from 50 years ago. Those people owe you an apology. The law enforcement of this generation doesn't. No. This generation is a generation of professionals.
But I think we should stop apologizing for the past in general.
That's my point, Sean.
Right.
We're saying the same thing. Why are you agreeing with me in an argumentative tone?
Right. No, I'm just kidding.
Because we're 4 minutes late and we're into our next segment.
You talk and all I hear is... when we come back, something written on the board, but I don't have my glasses on, and it's in red.
It's your segment. WikiLeaks, Obama, BlackBerry.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And White Line. Why does Obama have a BlackBerry and White Line refers to Hillary? Anyway, it's not important.
We'll be back on the Sackets Radio Show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. the Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying calf was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show. Thank you so much for sticking with us here on the SHR Media Network. Hey, coming up about 5-7 minutes before the hour, the Reaver of Common Sense, Jersey Joe, will join us to talk about his big interview coming up later on this week, so stick around for that. So I want to talk about an article. It's all over the place. I believe Fox broke it. Catherine Herridge was one of the contributing authors, as was somebody named Pamela K. Brown. I don't know who Pamela is, but okay. That Hillary Clinton's private server, have you heard about that? I don't know if you've ever heard about that.
No, I didn't. Wait.
So apparently,
she was a State Department employee, so wouldn't she have used a government server?
You would think so, but she didn't. She decided to use her own just for fun. Anyhow, it turned out not so good for her. But the question rose, hey, wait a minute. If Obama's responding to her non-State Department email on his BlackBerry, wouldn't it have to be on some sort of, I don't know, list to say, hey, this is an acceptable email? Seeing how you're the president, it's your BlackBerry, and it's outside of the government.
It's his device. I don't feel comfortable calling it a BlackBerry with this president.
Twigs and Berry.
Yeah.
I said BlackBerry.
Yeah, I know, but
I am sure that he has a block list from inside the government. Never mind an outside server. So for somebody to send him an email, they must have been approved from the IT department on his side. More importantly, his phone, and I'm not saying it's like when I go into the phone store, I'm like, fix my phone because I screwed it up again for the 5th time this week, and you hand it to the guy right there, and he tells you everything that you screwed up and makes you feel like a moron. I'm sure that doesn't happen when the president gets a phone update.
Right.
But on some level, he must have been like, hey, I'm not getting Hillary's emails. Can we find a way to fix that?
What's his whitelist?
I don't think he's ever said that. I think that's...
He might have a whitelist, but it means something different.
You're assuming. You're making an assumption.
No, I said I'm wondering.
Either way, the phone had to be updated. It had to be done through the IT department, which means more and more people are aware of the fact that Hillary had a private server, in which the president had responded to. Now, I'm sure in his phone, it comes up like any other phone. Hillary Clinton, maybe Secretary Clinton, under his address bar. And when he's going to send her an email, just like most other phones at the time, you pull up the contacts, you go down the list who you want to contact, and their email address is spelled out. I know, say, when I email somebody who works for government, it'll say blah, 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 .ma.us if it's Massachusetts, or .fl.us if it's Florida. If it's HRC at HillaryClinton.com, that should be an issue. And on top of it all, it should be very, very easily noticeable. Now, you could argue, and I'm sure many will, that when the president is getting ready to email on his phone, maybe an assistant gets everything ready and he just types. Right? Hey, her address is in. That's not unreasonable. And when you're the president, and he's the first one really with that sort of technology, I'm not saying he can't be bothered with it, but he, in a way, he can't be bothered with it. But the reality is, it's coming from his phone. It's going to her server. More than just the buffoon who installed the private server in her water closet knew about it. High levels of internet technicians at the government, the highest levels, had to be aware. And on top of it all, because I am sure they have classified clearances to be able to deal with that information that would come across on some level, wouldn't it be then be their responsibility to report that and say, hey, she's using an outside server. How do I know this? Well, I had to go in and and I'm not an IT person. I know BMP is in the chat room. I know he deals with computers on a regular basis. I want to say Mamba has some decent computer experience. Fact check me, guys. Maybe I'm wrong. But on some level, it got to the point that Hill Dog was well aware. Everybody was well aware that the Hill Dog was emailing from an outside server. So I know that, and I'm almost sick of debunking her lies via Podesta emails, WikiLeaks, Project Veritas videos. But once again, it has to go and be so blatantly freaking obvious that everybody knew it was going on, and the woman didn't get charged. And nobody else did either. That's the thing that amazes me about this. Nobody was charged. Listen, if they set the IT guy up as the patsy and he took the fall for it, at least they could hang their hat on it and say, no, we prosecuted the person that did it.
Yeah, he actually did it.
If they found someone at the Department of State and fired them for it.
They won't, Sean. You know this.
But when we get to close to this election, we'll talk about poll numbers, I'm sure, as the night goes on. This stuff makes a difference. This further goes to show why she cannot be trusted in the White House. Because she skirts rules whenever she wants. Other people skirt rules for her, whether at her direction or not. She has piss poor judgment. And yes, I will use the Trump phrase, she has horrible judgment. She does have piss poor judgment. Outside of her politics, look at the shit that's going on with her, the BlackBerry, all the questions about the Clinton Foundation. You go back through her years of poor judgment. She was fired from the Nixon administration for intentionally...
For falsifying evidence,
Falsifying evidence. The woman cannot be trusted. She hasn't changed. And we're at a 3-point separation in some polls. More in other polls. I think the AP has her up by like 8. Now, I know these polls, and I say it all the time, they're skewed. They over-poll Democrats, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, yeah, but now you look at... Well, we'll get into polls later, a little bit later, but... there's a reason why this race is so close, and it's not because Trump is an amazing candidate. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But yeah, the president's BlackBerry has a process called whitelisting, and that means it's only allowed to take calls and messages from certain contacts that are pre-approved. And this information is just now coming out, and yet we now know that Hillary and the president emailed each other while she was with the State Department. And that means that if her non-secure email was being received by him, he would have known, because that email contact would have had to have been approved to go to that device.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's amazing now kind of how much more and more of this information is coming out that they actually know.
Yes. And the other breaking news and regarding her emails, and Golf Dog brought this up, and it was on my list of things to talk about, was now they're saying, hey, the 33,000 emails that Hillary accidentally deleted. By the way, the accidentally deleted bullshit, I know this is kind of an older story, but I've always wanted to chime in on this, and I haven't. Have you ever tried to delete 100 emails? It takes forever.
Yeah.
So for you to manually go in and delete 33,000 specific emails, because if you go through the list, it's not like 33,000, a block of 33,000 just happened to disappear from the middle of her
because she
email
accidentally
chain.
hit
Right,
select
maybe
all.
Something happened. Right, Control A, oops, hit delete, they're gone. No, you had to go through and select those 33,000, hit delete, and then if you use Office or anything like that, there's a secondary, are you sure you want to delete file? And then you have to go over to the server that the Department of State or HillaryClinton.com uses and delete them specifically off that.
After you clear out your recycle bin.
After you clear out your recycling bin. And then you have to go to every computer those 33,000 were sent to and delete them off of that as well.
And are you sure you want to empty the recycle bin?
Yes! Over and over and over again! Ladies and gentlemen, that's the extent of Clint's knowledge on deleting emails, the recycling bin.
Well, I was helping you out because you missed those
steps. Are you
steps.
sure you want to clear your browser history? Just before I die.
Hell no, I want that stuff to load right away. I want a time crunch.
The reality is, the fact that... Do I get 20 minutes of lead time on that, Def? The simple fact that the emails were just quote-unquote deleted, and the fact that people accept that like, oh, it was just a button. She hit one button and it was gone. It was a mistake. Bullshit. It's bullshit. So let's go back to the fact that the emails were lost for all this time. A lot of people have speculated that the 33,000 emails weren't exactly lost. And now,
no,
including, I believe, this show.
Have you ever tried to lose 33,000 emails?
I wish I could. TheNextWeb.com has an article from a few hours ago, as does the New York Post, the Inquisitor, you name it, The Hill, saying lost emails from the 33,000 erased emails may not be missing after all, according to the website The Next Web. Reports are coming out now that they may in fact be recoverable and that the emails were not permanently destroyed and beyond recovery. Newly released FBI notes strongly suggest that this is not the case, or that this is the case. The reality of the situation is, we know! I hate to have to quote another article for something that's easy to pull up, but we know. We know they weren't deleted. We know they're somewhere. Bit bleach on that server is fine.
Yeah,
the
no,
NSA
it's not a big
has
deal.
them. Yeah, that could be how we get them.
I wanted to bring something up here because I have an idea for a new law.
Okay.
No, look. Do you remember the White House addressed this? First of all, they said, "Oh, Obama only found out about it with the rest of you when the story broke," and then he kind of walked that back. Right? Do you remember? And then he said this information is now coming out that the way this process works in order for the president's BlackBerry to receive this and who has to set this up and who the request has to come from, the request has to come from somebody high up, like the White House chief of staff or somebody high up in that, and it goes to Secret Service and the White House Communications Agency. Yes. That's how it works. So somebody high up has to know about this.
Of course.
Well, today when Josh Earnest was asked about
Ernest T. Worrell.
Yeah, when he was asked about the White House's previous statements, he kind of blew it off. So here's my idea for a law. Congress should write a law and have the votes to override any veto, because no president would sign it, that requires the White House press secretary to honestly answer any questions asked by the media
pertaining to non-classified information.
Because the media and the public has a right to know the government's business. What do you think? Shall answer. Shall not dodge. Yes. Shall not dodge the question.
And like I said, you can have some caveats, right? I mean, you can't go there and say, excuse me, Mr. Press Secretary, can you tell me exactly where we're going to launch that strike? No.
Right.
Because even though...
Right. Excuse me, Mr. Press Secretary, can you tell me exactly which positions the president nailed his wife last night?
Yeah, some things you don't need to do. Right.
Right. Something like that. But I'm talking if it has to do with something like this. Or so...
Though, depending on when the next election, that might be volunteered information.
Right.
That's neither here nor there.
We may want to know that.
Just saying.
Is there a video? If Hillary wins, I'm probably not going to ask.
Yeah, that will never come up again.
However,
ask who the first husband's doinking.
Right.
Hey, the Energizer Bunny come by the White House yet?
Right. That really doesn't have to do with the president, so we don't have to answer that question.
Somebody say binders full of women? It was one of my favorite memes from the 2008 election. Everyone talking about Mitt Romney's binders full of women, and then all of a sudden there's a picture of Bill Clinton crashing a White House press secretary meeting in the middle of it, like the same day, and somebody put over it as did somebody say binders full of women? But I digress.
I think that's a brilliant idea for a law, don't you?
Yes, I think it's a great idea for a law. Listen, anything that creates true transparency in the government, not pertaining to military and or clandestine operations, I am for.
Clandestine?
Yes.
You mean clandestine?
No, clandestine. Do you know who Cladis is?
Clandestine
works in the kitchen.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
I didn't know that.
She's an amazing chef. I've heard nothing but wonderful things.
Okay.
And she doesn't want her recipes.
Is her husband Ben Stein?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know.
No, he's a different guy.
Different guy.
Okay. But she doesn't want her recipes given up.
Got it.
And I don't think that they should be able to ask about them.
Oh, well, they shouldn't.
I think that should be dropped the line.
Well, some of us like using crock pots to cook or whatever. We might want to make a delicious meal that one might...
I've been up 18 hours. Leave me alone.
The White House.
Jeez Louise.
Now, who's Louise now? Are you kidding me?
She's the florist at the White House.
Now, how'd she get involved? Oh, they're arranging secrets we don't want to ask about?
She helps with Gladys's recipes.
Got it.
How do you garnish it?
Garnish.
Right? She's in there.
Bill sees her for ribbons and cigars.
Build one house doesn't make you a carpenter, but you screw up one word and you're marked for life. Jeez Louise.
There we go again. Are we expecting a phone call from somebody?
Any minute now.
Any minute.
He's obviously operating on WPT, which is, normal. This is just all normal for the sackheads. I mean, let's be honest.
So do you think WikiLeaks is going to come out with something else?
Yes.
Do you really?
Yes. I believe that in the next 5 days to 7 days, there will be a
big one?
Yeah, I think the big one's coming. I really do.
Really?
Yes.
How big?
I don't know. But here's somebody who might know. On the phone with us right now is the host of the Reaver Common Sense right here on the SHR Media Network. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific, rather, to 10 p.m. Pacific. Joe, how are you, sir?
Hit the dial button.
Right. Well, we wanted to make sure that you were here, and we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, and most people don't know this, but we actually have a Ouija board in studio, and oftentimes we refer to the Ouija board throughout the night as we're doing shows. And we communicated with you, and maybe that's what presence you felt that compelled you to hit those buttons at that moment.
I was thinking probably some secret camera you got in my house.
Well, that's a different story, and we don't want to get arrested.
That was in the contract you signed with the network. Joe, 4 minutes before the break, you have something going on this Friday. Pretty big.
Yeah. Friday, I was able to secure an interview with Project Veritas.
Outstanding.
Outstanding.
I have not locked down exactly who it's going to be, but it will be one of the top executives, possibly James O'Keefe.
James, who was actually on with Ken recently, a great interview. But I've also heard a couple of his other spokesmen do the interviews for him. Also great. I mean, they all work together. It's a great organization.
Yeah.
Kind of the video WikiLeaks, if you will, where they've exposed a lot of different things in this country that needed to be exposed. Most recently, the shenaniganry.
Leave it to Sean to talk about exposing things.
I know, and I try to keep it professional, Joe.
Who hosts this show, anyhow?
I feel sorry for you, Clint.
Sackhead Clint.
No, you guys go ahead. I'll be right here. Hey, Joe. Just really quick. Obviously, you'll be discussing about the email. I'm sorry, the videos parts 1, 2, and 3. Correct? Yeah. Everyone can't hear you because I muted you.
And 4.
So no, I'm just kidding.
Don't forget.
And 4, of course. Obviously, a lot of great info. And as much as, we've all seen the videos, but getting it from the people that were involved on how it was produced, sometimes behind the scenes is actually more interesting than the actual videos. I mean, these videos are huge. We know that mainstream media has done everything in their power to ignore these videos.
And they try and cut them down. They try and say, they were caught editing these videos before, which they were.
Yeah.
They were.
So wasn't every other mainstream media.
Right.
Right.
But I don't think that's been the case with these videos, correct? I mean, people are kind of quitting and being fired in the middle of the night over these.
Yeah, well, I mean, really, these guys were more than willing to brag about everything that they were doing. I mean, if you have people that are supposed to be smart enough, to be pulling this stuff off, you would think they wouldn't be so quick and so openly about everything they do.
Right.
It was amazing how openly they were about it. But also another thing I found funny is when they sit there and they throw out, he's convicted, he's a convict.
Mm-hmm.
James O'Keefe went into, who was it, Senator Mary Lambert?
Yes.
The Louisiana senator. He went into her office and lied about why he was going in. So he got convicted of lying to a senator, which all they do is lie.
Well, right, and the ruse has been used by news people for years. However, when you turn around and you're trying to specifically attack one, that's when they amazingly turn around and use certain laws.
How's that even a law?
Because it's the federal government.
Isn't that your First Amendment right?
Under false pretense.
False pretense. I think it's entering the secured location under a false pretense. I think that's really what the big thing was there.
I call that the bullshit law.
Yeah, I agree. It's total bullshit, but they use it, and it's like every other ridiculous law out there. It's amazing what laws will get enforced. James O'Keefe was arrested and convicted. I think he took a plea to make it go away, but for lying to a senator's office for the reason of entering. But Hillary Clinton's walking around free as a naked fucking jaybird.
Right, and how pissed off was that senator if they said, he lied to get in here, so we need to prosecute him.
Down with his head! I don't.
It's amazing.
I don't know if that's what he said.
But, it'll be interesting to have a conversation with them and, get everything from them directly. Because, do they have to edit the tapes? Yes.
Of course they do.
I mean, you got to bring it down to a reasonable management time. There's a lot of stuff on those tapes that really don't mean diddly.
Right.
Even with the Planned Parenthood. I mean, they're saying with the Planned Parenthood, they were edited. Of course they were edited.
Right,
Do you want to see 13 hours of...
Exactly. Do you want to see them ordering dinner for 45 minutes and talking about the creme brulee? Or do you want to see what you actually got to that video to see, which is... And with the current mindset of modern America not having an attention span of more than 7.5 minutes, in order for it to stick, you have to chop it down. And I don't mean that to be insulting, but it's the truth. And it's insulting.
I mean, what do the mainstream media do? I mean, they purposely edit these tapes to change the content of the message.
We see it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It started with the Zimmerman, right? Remember the 911 call from the George Zimmerman trial?
Yep.
We've seen it so many times. CNN's been caught doing it. NBC, MSNBC sleaze, all these guys are caught doing it. So but they're doing it to push a narrative versus trying to make something consumable for the general public.
To expose the truth. And that's what Veritas is doing. Yes, they're editing it, but they're trying to just expose the truth of what's going on in our corrupt government.
Yeah, I agree. Joe. And I look forward, very, very forward to the interview Friday. Of course, we'll put it on the front page of SHR once we get it and cut it and chop it and edit it for time.
and content.
And content, obviously, right. Content.
I got to edit it for content. We're going to make you look like a leftist.
The whole interview is just Joe going to be saying over and over again, penis. Penis. Penis.
And that would be different from what?
From, every other show that you do. Joe's one-handedly mirrors our show Monday through Friday without any help from anyone else. He does a great job all by himself. The Reaver of Common Sense, of course, right here on the SHR Media Network. Jersey Joe, find him on Twitter, find him all over social media. Reaver.one is his website. Make sure you check it out. Joe, sir, we're up against a break. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, guys.
All right, brother. Love Joe. My favorite part about Joe, I know I'm pushing a break real quick, is Joe and I having the same Northeast personality. We have some angry conversations about politics and stuff, and it's not angry towards each other, but anyone who is listening in must think we're the two most angry sons of bitches on the face of the planet. Oh, the things that we say when we just get so fired up. We both have that Northeast, just no punch pulled conversations, and because he and I are like in that safe place on the phone where I'm like, I can say this to someone because he'll get it. It's so much worse that God help anyone that ever listens to those conversations.
The NSA is just horrified.
Oh yeah, just
listening
like,
to you
God.
guys.
It's like I walked in choking a Muppet or something. We're up against a break when we come back.
Is that what you name it?
Trump's Gettysburg Address. All that and more of the Seconds Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Kath was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking, drinking, drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reverb Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
And sticking around here on the SHR Media Network.
You're welcome.
We're trying to, be as awesome as we always are.
You're welcome.
So,
look, Trump gave. Did you see Trump's speech in Gettysburg this week?
I caught glimpses of it. Yes.
So a couple things with it. First of all, he was gonna give this great speech, and I actually thought I want to talk about the good points here in a second. I thought he starts off by talking about the women he's going to sue after the election. Dude, seriously? Stop. STAHP. Stop. Just if you would have just gone with your policy stuff, okay, but you had to start. Whatever. All right, I'm done with that. He actually gave his contract with the American voter,
right,
which smacked of Newt Gingrich.
Yes, it did. Very much so.
Which I love. If whoever came up with this idea for Trump to have this contract with the American voter, brilliant. And I think it's paying off because I think that this contract really has helped propel this tightening of the race that we've seen in recent days, particularly with the average being, 3 points now?
Yes.
Well within the margin of error, with some polls having Trump up by 1. Is that right, Sean?
Yes. LA Times had him up by 1.
Okay.
And I think somebody else had him up by 1 or 2 as well.
Okay. Fox News had him up by 3.
Had her up by 3.
Had her up by 3. So but definitely tightening. And people that strongly support Trump, I think that number grew and is actually over Hillary, like 68% for him, 61% of her supporters strongly support her. So there's definitely some movement. The race has certainly tightened. But in this contract, and again, I think this was brilliant, and he needs to stay on these points. But there are some things that he said he's going to do. First of all, it's very specific. He says he wants to accomplish these things, do these things, get to work on these things within the first 100 days of his presidency. So within the first 3.5 months.
Right.
This is what he wants to accomplish. So that means it's specific and it's going to be verifiable, right? That's you can look at and you can absolutely gauge progress that he's going to do on these things. And he says that what he wants to do, one of the things he wants to do, is he wants to impose term limits on Congress through constitutional amendment.
Love it.
Huge.
I love it.
Huge. Whoever came up, again, I want to say, whoever came up with this idea of this contract with the American voter, and that's a Tea Party conservative principle right off the bat.
It really is.
To try and galvanize that base, because he really needs to galvanize that base in order to carry this thing through. Brilliant. Constitutional amendment, term limits on Congress. I'm a huge fan of that.
Yes.
He also wants to have a ban for 5 years on former congressional officials and White House officials becoming lobbyists after they leave government jobs. So after you leave Congress, after you leave the White House, whether you were in office or whether you were just working there as part of the team, for 5 years you cannot become a lobbyist. That's huge. And he wants a lifetime ban on White House officials being able to lobby on behalf of a foreign government. Period.
I think that's great.
Lifetime ban.
I think that's great.
No, you can't lobby for North Korea.
Hello.
Sean.
Hello.
He also says that he wants to undo the deal with AT&T and Time Warner. Which, by the way, interesting. Weren't both their stocks down this week?
Weird.
Right?
Hey, don't we have some sort of... it doesn't matter. Go on.
Yeah, antitrust laws?
Listen, monopolize it. Whatever.
That's a great game. So now that undoing that deal is actually something that Clinton and Trump, I think, are both on board with. Both want to undo that deal.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting. I will trust Trump on this one because he's a business guy, and I think he really understands that the effect that will have. Look, he's a big business guy.
Right.
He likes
Hillary's
big business.
A big government guy.
So, but the fact that he wants to stop.
Wait, did I say guy?
What?
What?
The fact that he wants to stop this deal from happening kind of actually says something to me, because if it's one thing this guy knows, it's economics. By this guy, I meant Trump, not Hillary.
So now I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome. So look, I kind of want to get your thoughts on this, but again, I really think this. If Newt Gingrich didn't consult on this, I think a play was taken from the Newt Gingrich playbook when Newt had his contract with America.
Listen,
do you remember that?
Newt has been a great tool.
You remember the contract?
Yeah, I remember. Newt has been a great tool for Trump because he hasn't really been in the campaign, but he's campaigning a lot for him.
Right.
I think he's doing a good job of getting some of the older Republicans to come on board. This does absolutely reek, and I don't mean that in a bad way, of Newt Gingrich's work. And listen, if this is just Newt doing it because he thinks it's the right thing to do, great.
Well, I think he absolutely understands the importance of what's at stake in this election.
And even if there was some sort of agreement with the campaign, great. It needed to be done. I think Newt, and I have my issues with Newt. We've talked about it in the past.
Yeah.
But I think what he's doing right now, he's standing up to a lot of the never Trumpers in the Republican Party. He's standing up to a lot of people.
Good for him. Well, even Chaffetz said today or whatever, and he didn't endorse Trump. He even said, "I'm going to vote for Trump. I can't let Hillary carry this election."
Right. All of those things I think are good. Somebody else brought up another great idea is to have him go after ICANN, the internet restricting contract that was passed. I absolutely agree. I think that's a good way to go as well. But all of these things are doing something that Hillary is not doing. It's showing a plan, and it's being forthcoming with it. Will he be able to accomplish every single thing he's talking about? It's reasonable, but I don't know if he'll get everything. But does it show that he has idea and he has a vision, and it's not just I'm going to fill that chair for 4 years to say I did something and have power? I believe so. I really, really want to believe that he's doing this for the right reason. I've said it before. Of course, he's got an ego. Of course, there's some power involved. You have to have an ego to do that job. I hate to say it.
Right.
You have to have an ego to go in and do that job appropriately. There's a difference between ego and narcissism, as we've seen with this current administration.
Yep.
You look at ego and you go back, I'll go back to Reagan. Do you think the wall would have fallen if Reagan didn't have the ego that he had?
No.
And the reason Reagan had the ego is because of the country that he was leading. It wasn't like he was a big egotistical person beforehand. At least he didn't seem it. I didn't know him personally. But I think his ego came from the power that was invested into him by the voters.
I think it was confidence. He was confident.
And ego. I think
Yeah.
it all goes hand in hand on some level. So, it is good to see Newt stepping up. It's good to see, more importantly, Trump doing something presidential. I think it's good to show for the people who are on the fence that he does have a plan. If you don't believe the guy now, you're probably not going to believe the guy ever until he does it, and even then you're going to always have questions. I'm not fooled by some of the things about Trump, but he's different than I am. I know he's different than I am. I know that he has a vulgar mouth. I do too. I don't necessarily think that means you're a bad person. As a matter of fact, there's been numerous studies released recently by people who study the brain that say people with vulgar mouths have a tendency to be more intelligent. Joe, did you hear that? They're giving us props. So there's a lot of different things you can argue. I think at this point as a conservative, you're either voting against Hillary or you're voting for Trump. But if you go in and you're pulling that handle for Trump, you have to do it on some level believing that this guy, I think his heart is more in the right place than anyone gives him credit for. I don't necessarily, like I said, I don't agree with everything, but I think his heart's in the right place. Mm-hmm. Listen, he didn't need this job. I've said that time and again. He didn't need to spend a lot of his own money running for president. I've said that time and again. He could sit home and never work another day of his life and fly on the Trump plane every single day to wherever he wanted and grab any woman by the hua and live a completely fulfilled life. But he's not. He knew when he was running everything that could come out about him, everything he's ever said, especially being mic'd up so much of his life.
Oh, yeah.
He knew that his finances would always come into question, his business decisions, etc.
And you know what? I like the fact that he's owned that.
Very much
I
so.
like the fact that he says, you know what? Hey, I've taken advantage of the tax loopholes and the tax laws that you helped support, that many of your donors adhere to. I'm following the law.
Yes.
Don't get mad at me. Get mad at the law. I'm simply following and using the law to my advantage.
Right.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
You know, it's funny when somebody goes out and they claim and prove that they're doing something legally, and your argument is you still shouldn't have done it.
Right.
All that is nanny nanny boo boo.
Right.
That's all that is. Nanny nanny boo boo.
It is.
I don't like you.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean you don't like me? I did something by the law. I did something legal. What did I do wrong? Yeah, but you did it for your own advantage. No shit.
Yes.
That's okay.
Of course I did. Well, what am I supposed to do it
you
for?
You gave yourself, and you didn't pay a tax, but you're right.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Here's a problem with the tax bill.
Fix it.
Fix it.
You could have fixed it.
I have said before, and I say it again, you want to change taxes in this country to fair or flat tax? Wait to the end of the year. Don't take any money out of checks until the end of the year. And then you make people write checks. Just let them see exactly how much you rape out of their paycheck.
Yes.
And then every year, you provide a very easy-to-read graph as to exactly where your money's going.
Yes.
And watch how quickly people change their idea of taxes. This isn't Donald Trump's fault. Liberals have been doing this for years.
And Republicans, too.
And a lot of these tax laws were passed by liberals. Look at how... Go through and Google how many different tax laws Bill Clinton signed into effect. Yeah, Republicans passed them, but he signed them.
Look, and speaking of taxes, real quick, I want to look at what's happening in California with this proposition. I think it's 55. It was a temporary tax increase on the wealthiest Californians, those who could afford to pay their fair share, where they pay additional percentage of taxes for schools, for education, for our children. And it was billed, 7 years ago as a temporary tax to sunset after 7 years. This will never be a permanent tax.
Never
will this be. It's written into the law. It sunsets. Well, guess what? Guess what's on the ballot in California?
We're going to extend that a little bit.
12 years.
Yeah, well, I said a little bit.
12.
In the history of California, 12 years is only what? A 0.5%, 1%?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. 12 years. But there's another sunset clause, and the commercials for it. It's for the wealthiest Californians to continue to pay their fair share for our kids. Taxes aren't going to be raised on anybody. Taxes aren't going up at all. Not a single penny. It's just that the people that can afford it will continue to pay their fair share. And it won't go away. For our children. But that's how it's being sold. And guess what? Most knuckleheads in California are going to be like, well, yeah. Yeah, and they're not raising taxes.
I'm shocked that law doesn't have a caveat. Almost like DirecTV. You know, if you sign up for DirecTV and you get like the NFL package for free that first year.
Who the hell wants that nowadays?
But if you don't call in and cancel it, it automatically goes and restarts next year.
Every voter has to call in to cancel.
I'm shocked they didn't pass that.
Like a majority of voters literally have to call in between these hours on this date, and if you don't, if we don't get X number of million of callers, then...
Oh, by the way, we only have 100 phone lines, so make it quick. We're giving you the opportunity. We've done the math. It can work out. If you start calling at midnight one day to midnight the next day at 100 lines, as long as everyone has 8.7 seconds and stands by it, you'll be okay.
Right. Totally doable.
Totally doable.
Call and cancel.
Shit, call and cancel.
If you send it back, it's like the CD of the month.
First one is free, cancel anytime.
Right.
Oh, man.
Wow. So, look, I think that was a huge thing. Huge.
Huge.
It was huge.
Huge.
Tremendous. It was a tremendous speech. It's really going to be something. That speech. It was really something. It was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
What?
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
But you know, if he keeps that up, if he keeps it up, and if he stays away from the garbage that he sometimes likes to get himself involved in, look, we are 13 days away, and just in the last 7 days, look how much the polls have closed. He was 9 points behind a few weeks ago, and last week at this time he was 6 points. Now he's 3 points. Next week we could be talking where it's dead even, or he could be ahead. And in some polls that you pointed out, he's ahead by 1 or whatever. This is going to be a very, very tight race.
Yes,
unless it's possible that it's a blowout.
Well, you know, Danny Butcher over at High Plains Pundit and I were talking today, and we've had this exact conversation. Look, you go back to Reagan and Carter.
Yeah.
3 weeks
Those
before
polls
the
were
election.
tight.
No, 3 weeks before the election, Carter was up 70-30. You had major newspapers in the country already calling it for Carter. Then you got to 2 weeks, and it went to 60-40. Then the week of the election, the polls got tight.
No, that's what I was talking about. It was the polls were that tight,
right
after the election.
30
but he blew it up
in 3 weeks.
But
30 to
But even though
tight.
the polls were that close, what was the outcome of that election?
And then all of a sudden,
it was
Reagan
a blowout
won in a landslide.
In a landslide.
Landslide.
Yes.
One of the biggest presidential victories
since Washington.
Since Washington.
George Washington was the only one that was unanimous.
Yes.
And this was all but one state, right?
Yes.
Was that his second term?
No, I think his first one was all but one state. I want to say that he didn't get Pennsylvania. But so as we've seen more recently with Brexit, as we've seen with the polls even now, you look at the polling, and I've said this before, I say it again, don't trust any news agency polls because they oversample voters, they leave things out, they push things up. A lot of these are only polling straight Democrats or Republicans. They're not necessarily doing independents. They're not necessarily polling liberals, big L or little l. You look at all of those different things. Now you get to Rasmussen. You get to other poll companies like that. They're the ones who are the closest. Why? Because that is their actual bread and butter. That's what they get paid to do. And if they oversample and make mistakes, they will not have jobs with some people.
It was Minnesota, and it was Walter Mondale.
Minnesota.
It was 1984.
Minnesota.
1984. Reagan had 525 electoral votes to 13. Walter Mondale took Minnesota and Washington, D.C.
Wow. And that doesn't count anyhow.
That doesn't count anyhow.
So you look now at these polls, and I say, I've said for the last month on this show, and I'll say it again, you don't trust the polls for another 6 days. And then only look at true polling companies because they have no outside interest. Their job is to be accurate. And if they aren't accurate, it will come back to bite them.
Yeah, but that's true. But here's one of the weird things with this election. And look, I believe that it is close, or I believe that people really don't know what the hell to do. And on election day, if it's a landslide, it's going to be because people are just like, yeah, F it, I just can't vote for that person. That's really what I believe. And that's why I believe the polls are so close. But I think the polls being close is more a reflection of people don't know what the hell they're going to do.
Right.
Rather than they really know what they're going to do and they're going to support one candidate or the other.
Well,
that's really what I believe.
But you're also getting a lot of people who are afraid to admit that they're voting for Trump because of backlash that they're not telling these pollsters the truth or anything.
Yeah. Look, this is what I'm talking about. It's completely possible that people just don't want to say who they're going to vote for either way.
Right.
People don't want to vote for a crook and people don't want to vote for...
Or they don't want to admit to it.
Right, or they don't want to admit to it. So it's completely possible that I see news agencies already calling this election, and the Clinton camp is already declaring victory in some cases, and they're kind of turning to some of these Senate races. Seriously, have you seen this?
Well, no, she's already started her transitional plan, which kills me because that's like saying, there's no reason to go out and vote. I've already won. All right, let's move on. Come on.
Right. And I think it's completely possible that nobody knows what the hell's going to happen this election. So I know people are already kind of calling it. We've already talked about that with the news media and so forth. But I don't think anybody really knows what the hell's going to happen this election. I really don't. There's so many people who are polarized.
Yes.
In this country, and I think that Hillary has her supporters, and I think Trump has his supporters. But I think there is a large segment of the population. I would think more than 50% of the population that doesn't know what the hell they're going to do.
Yes. Well, and I said today, too...
or if they're going to vote.
Well, you're going to have a lot of people, you're going to have a lot of never-Trumpers who are going to get into that booth and go, I can't let her do it. As much as I may not like him, I can't let her do it.
They're never-Trumpers to their friends. They're never-Trumpers in public.
Right. I equate it to the drinkers that you don't know what people that drink, right?
Right.
Like when you see them out and about, I never have a drink, and then you go to the house and there's 56 empty cases of Keystone Light in the back hall.
Right.
And you're like, wait a minute, I thought you don't drink. Well, I don't drink socially. Oh no, you're just a house alcoholic. Cool. But it's very true. But then you also get into libertarians, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many libertarians are going to have that conscious moment where they're, and I don't mean they're unconscious, but that moment when they're in the box going, yeah, Hillary is literally the anti-everything I stand for. He'll do less damage. You have that as well.
Right.
I don't see, you have Johnson polling at 7-8% right now. I don't see him carrying that through Election Day. I don't see that. So I think you could take a couple points from that as well and add it probably to the Trump side. There's a lot of things that are in play still. This isn't even close to over. And like I said, you could have a Reagan-esque moment where everybody just shows up. And they're like, yeah, you know what? Second Amendment, SCOTUS, I can't let this happen. I haven't voted in 25 years. I'm coming out. Or I wasn't going to vote, but I need to. All of those things are possible.
It is. And I think that, you said something a little bit ago where you were like, hey, it's possible where everybody comes out and you can have this Reagan-esque moment. It's possible, but I think that's why the Hillary camp is trying to declare victory already. They're trying to make it so that, but I think they have to be careful Because if they're already claiming victory, how many of their people might say, oh, well, she already won. I don't need to go vote. It's okay if I don't go vote today. But I think what they're trying to do is get the Trump people to be beat down, or the Republicans or whatever to stay home, is I think what their strategy is. But the polls don't bear out what their narrative is.
At all.
And I haven't seen the Clinton campaign reaction to these latest polls.
Yeah,
that came out. I don't think they have had a public reaction unless I'm just not seeing it, which is possible.
You know, when they're trying to blame WikiLeaks on emails getting stolen versus what was said by their candidate and the people that surround her,
right?
That's huge. That tells you that they're in oh shit mode. The one thing that the Democrats always do when they're in oh shit mode is get quiet.
Yep.
And they're very quiet right now, per se. If they're not trying to pull dirty politics and call him out on what he said 11 years ago and things like that, how he hates women and blah, blah, and they're not talking about issues that they know they can win on,
yep,
that's how you know they're in trouble. We're up against a break. Sir, I'm going to bid you adieu. I know that you need to scurry along.
I need to skedaddle.
Clint's nose has to be in Pennsylvania tomorrow by noon, so he has to leave now. And
I'm halfway there already just by standing here.
Well, you have to turn and walk backwards now in order to not mess with the space-time continuum.
I have to not inhale sharply in order to create a black hole.
Because if you walk too
where
fast
we are,
and your nose bumps you in the back of the head, I don't know if you've seen the movie Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Right.
But if you touch yourself in a time rift, you'll disappear.
I have. And here's one of the dangers of the SHR studio is because if you know anything about the theory of gravity, one of the theories of gravity is that it's not the object itself that creates gravity, but it's the object sitting within a surface of space that creates an effect, much like if a bowling ball were sitting on a bed and you put a marble at the edge of that divot, with which the mattress being space and the bowling ball being the earth, or Sean's belly, for example, that it creates its own gravitational pull, and the marble rolling to the bowling ball is not because of the mass of the bowling ball, but because of the divot within space. So I have to be very careful about how close I get to Sean also. So my nose is kind of that measuring space that keeps me from just being sucked right to his body, to where we're in like a perpetual hug.
Well, folks, try to sleep with that image in your mind. Clint, sir, just leave.
Where do you even go from there?
I just leave.
Good luck. Hey, the final segment, just before we go to break, is called, I wrote it on the big board of topics, Sean carries the show to conclusion.
And I have a theme.
So without that, hey, I want to thank everybody for listening to us tonight.
That's the theme of the last segment.
You're talking about immigration.
I'll be back here on the Sackheads Radio Show live in the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the Unpleasant Blind Guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Kath was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking, drinking, drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reverb Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. It is just me, unadulterated, pantsless, and in the studio all alone. Dear God, we know what happens when this happens. Usually it goes south. And it promises, once again, to go south. So I want to jump over. I want to talk about Russia a little bit. And Putin, once again, came out, and this story is in the Post, New York Post, from yesterday, that Putin promises confrontation if Clinton keeps up the Russian talk. The story goes on to say Putin's issued a veiled threat to Hillary, saying his country will engage in confrontation with the U.S. if she continues to provoke the motherland. He's using that term more and more, and that scares the bejeebies out of me. Putin accuses Hillary of continued harsh rhetoric and threats against Russia for her own political gain. He went on to say that jeopardizing Russian-American relations in order to gain brownie points internally, I consider this to be harmful and counterproductive. It's not funny anymore. If someone out there wants confrontation, this is not our choice, but this means that there will be problems, Putin warned. Let's talk about Russia and Putin and Clinton and all of that stuff for a few minutes, because I had a great conversation with a friend of mine today, and we were talking about Russia, and this person essentially tried to push Russia into the corner and say, there's nothing to really worry about with Russia. And I disagree. I'm getting feedback. I do have somebody on the line, and I'm going to pick you up in a minute, but you have something in the background you need to get rid of. But you look at Putin, and you look at who he is and what he's trying to do, and then you look at our nation. One of the things that gets talked about all the time in this country is, we have the two shores. We have the two shores. There's nothing to worry about. We have the two shores. Everyone thinks that you'd have to be absolutely insane to try to launch an attack. And this is a hypothetical, I know. But let's say for a minute that we take Putin at his word. Crimea, Georgia, other places that he's engaged, Syria right now, that he's engaged himself in, and we should take himself seriously. On some level, we should take him seriously, I agree. So he was talking about the defense of our country. And I said, okay, I'll meet you in this conversation. He says, well, listen, what are they going to do, just land troops here? I mean, they come from one shore or the other. We'll blow them out of the sky. And I said, air superiority is great when you have the planes to do it. A majority of our planes are deployed overseas. doing missions over there. Yes, we have some fighters here that are on alert status, but it's a small contingency. And to be frank, that contingency is to stop a single or maybe small multi-plane attack. Literally, that contingency is in place more now for hijackings than it is to repel a massive military attack. Plus, why do you think that the Russians are working so hard to make bases in the Arctic and have oil transfers in the Arctic? Because if for some reason Putin went absolutely off the rails and did what he's threatening to do, if he wanted to, he could go right up and over Canada because their air defenses are worse than ours. Yes, they have them, but they're worse than ours. And by the time we absolutely responded, they legitimately could do some damage. Could they 100% land and maybe launch an attack from inside our land? Maybe doubtful. I see the Red Dawn comments already in the chat room. But think about this for a second. Let's say they came up over the Arctic. Maybe China was on board, right? Because we know there's some sort of collaboration there. And they throw up a couple hundred planes. We won't have that many missiles in the air. Yeah, we'll have some surface-to-air missiles, etc. But what if they precede that by firing, I don't know, 100 ICBMs and 4 or 5 of them are EMPs? Not nuclear tips, because I don't even think he would do that, but EMPs. But what I'm saying is the problem we have in this country is we are so certain about certain things that we automatically block out potential threats and issues. We do it when it comes to Islamic extremists. We do it when it comes to Russia. We do it with a lot of different places. And I don't think it's something that we should ever take lightly. Not because I'm a conspiracy theorist wearing my aluminum foil hat, even though, some days I'm sure I should. But the reality is it is upon us to protect our homeland and our people as much as humanly possible. And when you see rhetoric from a country that we were in a Cold War with for years, and Putin is a veteran of that Cold War, it's something that we should take seriously again. Seriously, all they have to do is cut the rail off in this country and land in the middle. And by the time we had enough armor and equipment in the air to move they could have a foothold. It's not crazy. It really isn't crazy to believe that. So you have to watch the Russians. Listen, he's doing a lot of things. He's called people back home. If you're overseas, you should come back home. He's moved armor all over the place. He's showing off this brand new missile and torpedo recently. He's posturing for a reason. And I know that the Russians will posture with nothing to back it up, but I don't know with this guy. I don't trust him enough to just chalk it up to saber rattling. I really don't. I think it's something that we in this country need to consider a serious threat and a serious issue. And the people need to understand that and get on board. The government knows that we couldn't repel a massive attack. As much as we want to say we can, we can't. As good as our armed forces are, there's just not enough of them. It has nothing to do with their abilities. It has to do with their numbers and their equipment sometimes, too. So on the phone right now is an unknown caller. Who that unknown caller is, I don't know. But we're going to find out. Good evening.
Good evening.
And have a good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You've been listening to the Sackheads Radio. No, I'm sorry, I lost connection for a second. Hello, are you there, caller?
Yes, my brother. I happen to be listening to your program.
Yes,
and
sir.
I am thoroughly enjoying your conversation about the matters that are happening in the world today. I am uniquely representative of a woman that you complain about often.
Okay.
And I want you to know, I'm on live, right?
Okay, yeah, very live. Very, very live, sir.
I want you to know that me and the brethren have made a commitment. Our commitment is to make certain that everybody who can hear within the naked eye
You said naked?
Yeah.
Okay,
the
good,
naked
good.
eye.
Okay.
That you hear in the naked eye. That we are going to stand for a woman who believes in liberty and freedom and this country under one maybe God.
Uh-huh.
And
possibly.
Listen, I know you have great love for Putin.
Uh-huh.
And that's why you talked about Russia over the past 20 minutes.
Uh-huh.
But I think you should spend some time talking about Hillary. Hillary, who loves to make certain that we, the people, are heard and not misunderstood. I remember when she gave me a job to give to somebody else. I asked her to come up the stairs to the State Department. And I ushered her into that little room.
Hold on a second. Wait. Before you say who you are, I want to play a game of 20 questions to try to figure it out. But go on.
Okay. I just want you to know that Huma Abedin did a wonderful play-action version of Monica Lewinsky for Hillary.
Okay.
That's how committed she is to be in the Oval Office. And that's what your listeners have got to give her a chance.
You're 100% right. I have a couple of questions, and then I'm going to take a guess on who you are. Is that okay?
You can go ahead if you wish, or even if you don't wish it.
Okay. Have you now or have you ever owed approximately $900,000 in back taxes?
I don't like to get into tax issues.
Yes or no question?
I'd like to explain it to you.
No, I'm looking for a yes or no question on this.
Well, that's a yes or no question.
Do you now or have you ever owed $900,000 in back taxes?
I may have.
Okay, all right. I will take that as an affirmative. My next question, sir. Are you now or have you ever dropped an immense amount of weight to the point that your head looks like a giant Pez dispenser?
I want you to know that working out is good for the soul.
It's a yes or no question.
It could be.
Okay, good. I appreciate it. Do you now or have you ever had a show on a cable television network in which a vast majority of the time you speak incorrectly about the topics that you were on, including regularly quoting the wrong people?
Well, Abraham Lincoln told me.
Yes or no question?
Jesus was a prophet. May have been, could have, should have.
Okay.
It is the number one show on MSNBC, sir.
Okay, so that's a yes.
It could be.
Okay. All right. Well, see, but that's how we learn, right? This is a fun game. I love playing this game. Are you now or have you ever been a reverend?
Oh, I've never been a reverend.
Okay.
Never. I've been accused of being one, but I've never been a reverend. No. Mm-mm.
Okay, good.
I got no papers that can prove it.
Right. No, that's what I just wanted. I wasn't accusing you, sir. I wasn't accusing you.
Most of those reverends end up going to the White House and they owe $3 or $4 million in back taxes and refuse to pay it, and then tell the president, I need a job or a government grant or something. I'm not. But I don't know about them people. That's a yes or no.
Okay. All right. Good. And this is going to be my last question. Then I'm going to take a guess to see if I'm correct.
Okay.
Are you now or have you ever been an FBI informant in exchange for ducking prosecution for, say, narcotic offenses?
Are you a cop?
No, I'm just asking a question.
Well, is this vote Hillary? Yeah.
I have a couple questions coming from my chat room. If that's okay, would you be willing to indulge?
Well, it's a little late in the evening, and don't be asking that kind of question because of the neighborhood I live in. You know what I'm saying? I ain't seen nothing. I ain't saying nothing.
No. I'm not asking you to do anything. I know, like, right now you live in a very affluent home where there's no crime around you. But I was just talking about, I don't know, back in the day. I'm just saying back in the day. How's that?
I thought you were for the Clinton Foundation.
No.
I thought you were Hillary. Vote Hillary.
Vote Hillary. That's absolutely great. By the way, 10% commission for your drug sales that you were arranging, was that a good cut, you thought?
That belongs to God.
Oh.
God said 10%, so I keep it for it. And then I made a deal with God. This is my deal. I made this deal with God. I said, God, this is a lot of money that people been giving me, liberals from the left and liberals from the right. There's a lot of money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss it up to you, Lord. And if whatever falls to the earth belongs to me, and whatever stays up there belongs to you.
Okay.
That's not pretty poor.
I have two more questions.
Yeah,
are you now, at this exact moment, or have you ever regularly visited the White House under the Obama administration?
Well, I like to say that I don't know the man.
Oh. Okay, do you know the president?
Oh, well, yeah, I know him.
Okay, good. Okay. A chatter I have by the name of White Mamba wants to ask the following question: are you now, or have you?
Wait a second. Man, Kelly just accused me of being a sexual predator.
Oh. Well, are you now, or have you ever been a sexual predator?
No, I don't own a Baptist church down in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, very good. Very good. Are you now, or have you ever been a metrotextual woman or in a relationship with Huma Abedin?
Oh, no, I'm a fixer, not a repairer.
Okay. I think I'm ready to take a guess on this one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Are you Al Not So Sharpton?
You are correct.
Oh, thank you so much. Hold on, I have applause. Outstanding. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, I appreciate that. Sir, good evening. It is surely a surprise. Are
Shirley there? Oh, my
who?
God, I owe her some money. Shirley, you said Shirley was the prize.
Yes. No, I'm actually all alone right now in the studio hosting the Sackheads radio show. Do you know who you called?
Well, I called into the #1 urban black station in America.
Yes, I believe that is correct. I haven't seen the recent numbers, but I have to be in the ballpark, right? We're pretty high up there. Where did you find our number?
Hoover Aberdeen's bathroom wall.
Okay, all right. Was it marked for a good time, or was it marked "Kill These Bastards"?
Well, it wasn't marked "Kill Those Bastards" because I don't think that's a good last name.
Okay. Oh man. Okay, good. And by the way, will you be working the polls on election day?
Oh no, I got girls that do that. They're for the
No, I meant the voting polls, sir.
Oh yeah, vote Hillary.
Vote Hillary.
And please, this weekend, would you go out and register all the people that got shot in Chicago? We need their vote.
That's horrible, sir. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Is there a law against that?
There is a law against that, for starters. Number two, these poor people were just victimized by gunfire, and it's just mean to do.
You know, what we need in this country is for somebody to come behind us and make, well, not necessarily behind us, because after you eating that Kentucky Fried Chicken, you don't want nobody behind you. But what we need is someone to go before us, unless, of course, they happen to go to the same nightclub that Obama used to go to. You don't want none of them in front of you. What I'm saying is we need somebody who is willing to take all the guns off the street, all the guns from people who go out and buy them. That way people who would steal them wouldn't have them.
Right. No, I would like to tell
Hillary.
you. Vote Hillary. Okay. Well, I'm out of time. I do appreciate your calling in, the Reverend. The not Reverend, also not so Sharpton.
Thank you. Are you pass the offering plate now?
Yes.
Oh.
I definitely want to make sure that all of our listeners know to go and read your entire history of everything that's happened in your life and who you really are, because I think that's important. Certainly the time. I would love a Pez. Just so you know, we will not be paying you for this, sir. And even if we did, we would actually deduct taxes from it.
Oh, no, that's okay. Don't pay me then.
Okay. All right. Good. I'm glad we had that covered. So you've been listening to the Sackheads Radio Show, the #1 rated urban talk show on Sackheads Radio Night on Wednesdays between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Mama, for spelling that out. The Reverend Not So Sharpton, thank you for your appearance, and we hope that you figure out. We hope you figure out that thing you got going on with your head real soon, because it doesn't look right. Nobody's head is supposed to be that big, and I wish you well. To everybody who joined me this evening on behalf of Sackhead Clint, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, right here on the SHR Media Network. Make sure you check out all the great shows on the SHR Media Network. The Lid on Wednesdays afternoon. Jeff's show is just awesome. He has some great guests. If you haven't had a chance, make sure you check him out live. Of course, the Reaver of Common Sense. Listen Friday. He's going to have Project Veritas, a representative, maybe O'Keefe himself. So look forward to that. And the #1 in urban conservative talk. Of course, the exception one himself. Ken McClinton, who couldn't join us on the phone this evening. It was an absolute shame. We love talking to our buddy Ken. But make sure you check him out as well. Mark your calendars. The second Tuesday, the 8th, November 8th. We will be doing the election special, kicking it off with Ken McClinton, then, of course, picking it up here. You're going to have me, Jersey Joe, Ken, Carrie Baxter Donovan, Jeff from Lid is going to be joining us. We have people all over the country helping us out for the election night. Clinton and I, of course, will be emceeing it. So mark your calendars. Join us for that. We really appreciate if you could check in. Thank you to all the chatters in the chat room at shrmedia.com. And do vote Joe Biden. I don't know for what, but we have to keep him around because that's just material for the next 4 years. We will see you next Wednesday evening. Thank you so much for listening.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work there, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.